We all love good GTA theories, so I've got not 10, not 30, but a whole 50 crazy GTA theories that might actually be true. It's gonna be a long one, guys, so let's just dive right in.
Don't you ever not tell me things I want to know!
This first theory on this list will change your perspective about GTA Vice City forever. In Little Haiti lies Romero's funeral home, which seems pretty normal, but when you get inside the actual cemetery, you can find a human skeleton with one arm missing. Near the funeral home, there is a butcher shop that belongs to the same Romero family. When you zoom in on the items showcased in the shop's display window, you can actually see a human arm there, along with a package that reads human organs for transplant, all suggesting that the Romero family is actually running some sort of human organ trafficking business. They probably use their heirs to transport the goods, making it the perfect cover for their illegal operations. That's pretty dark, don't you think? Do you remember Johnny Klebitz, the hotshot from Lost MC Bikers gang, who we really came to love in GTA 4? However, he became a junkie and was killed by Trevor when he decided to confront him at the worst possible time. But hold on, did Trevor actually kill him? Apparently not. This new theory has surfaced that suggests Johnny was still alive after getting brutally stomped by Trevor. That's hard to believe, right? Well, I wouldn't have either, but here's a video that shows him still blinking his eyes, which suggests Rockstar actually left the decision on us to actually kill him or leave his death on Trevor. What do you guys think about that? There are many theories connected to the three protagonists of GTA 5, but this is the one that sounds the most believable. Each character represents a different era of GTA games. Trevor represents the chaotic and absolutely crazy era of the early top-down GTA games that were unhinged like our Canadian guy. Franklin, on the other hand, represents the ambitious 3D universe like Vice City and San Andreas when GTA was setting new standards in gaming. And finally, Michael reflects the more refined, mature era of GTA 4 and GTA 5, a calmer, post-success vibe that focuses on storytelling and complexity. Rockstar has always had a knack for including cheeky little details in their games that poke fun at celebrities or even politicians. Many of us have seen The State of Happiness and thought it was simply a recreation of the Statue of Liberty, but some eagle-eyed fan made a striking discovery suggesting how it resembles US Senator Hillary Clinton. And the reason why Rockstar did that was because Hillary was one of the critics who suggested the new regulations for video games after GTA San Andreas hot coffee controversy went viral. To further support this theory, you can actually see this model holding a cup of coffee instead of a book, which is wild. Let me know if you have noticed that already. Lester is the guy who keeps tabs on everyone. Heck, he even learned about Michael and his secret deal with the FIB, even though Michael was trying to lay low. So how could he not know about Trevor, who wasn't even trying to hide and had a whole illegal drug business going under his own name? It only makes sense that Lester knew what Trevor was up to, but he chose not to share that information with Michael. Maybe he didn't want to stir the pot, or he didn't want Michael to get spooked. Either way, it feels like Lester had more cards up his sleeve than he let on. Apparently, Lester also knew about Nico being alive. In the mission where Lester and Michael are trying to put together a crew for the next robbery, Lester mentions that there was this Eastern European making moves in Liberty City, but no, he went quiet. We're sure he was talking about Nico, who, according to Lester, went quiet, but not quite dead, because thanks to his Life Invader page, we know he's pretty much alive. So if Lester knew Nico went quiet, it's likely he also knew Nico had retired. Do you remember that scene where Big Smoke puts in that ridiculous fast food order? At first, it seemed like he was just hungry or ordering for the whole crew, but some fans think otherwise. The theory is Big Smoke was just trying to kill some time because he knew the balls were about to ambush them and wanted to keep everyone in one spot. And when the shootout begins, notice how Smoke doesn't even bother to fire back, claiming he's too busy eating. Coincidence? I think not. Alright, here's one for the conspiracy theorists. Some fans actually believe that GTA games are set in hell. All the NPCs and characters are sent there to relive their worst experiences, as well as traumas. That's why no one ever truly dies. They just respawn, doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. It's all just part of their eternal punishment. Trevor might have killed his parents, but our guy Franklin wasn't lucky enough to know them. His father is thought to have died while he was just 3 or 4 years old, while his mother overdosed shortly after. While some fans think that Frank's dad might actually still be alive. In Sandy Shores, there's a lonely old guy with the last name Clinton who's said to have served in some war, which made him this way.
War crimes? War crimes? What's a war crime? Losing! That's the only crime? That's the only crime!
Could it be Frank's father, who abandoned his family after struggling with the trauma of war? It's a wild guess, but in the GTA universe, you just never know. I am sure you all remember Zero from San Andreas. The guy who came up with one of GTA's most hated RC plane missions ever. Well, some fans believe he's changed his identity to Lester from GTA 5. I mean, the timeline certainly adds up. Zero was in his 20s back in 1992, and by 2013, Lester was in his 40s. Both have a knack for technology and developing some deadly gadgets, like Lester's explosive device that he uses to kill Norris on live TV. It's crazy, but it doesn't sound impossible. I mean, Zero could have reinvented himself as the mastermind we all know as Lester. Have you guys ever noticed how each character has a different smartphone? Some fans have made a connection that the smartphone they're using actually represents their personality or social status. Michael uses an iPhone because, well, he's a rich guy. Franklin uses an Android phone because he's your average user who's more into tech than Michael. And finally, Trevor uses a Nokia kinda sturdy cell because all he cares about is having a reliable smartphone that lasts longer with its rough use. Rockstar has always been great at leaving certain details open to interpretation, and one mystery the fans love to theorize about is Trevor's father. During the scene, when Trevor confronts Deborah and Floyd in their apartment, Trevor says how he had a difficult childhood and his father wasn't nice to him.
Right, I had a tough upbringing. My daddy was not nice to me.
And we know how things turned out in the end, with the couple found dead in their apartment. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to think Trevor could have had a similar fate for his father, but Rockstar never confirms it. However, it certainly adds an eerie layer to Trevor's troubled backstory. Here's a wild one that might sound too out there, but hear me out. Some fans believe that the healthcare system in GTA is so advanced it actually has the ability to resurrect people from the dead. Now before you roll your eyes, think about it. We've all seen how first responders in the game can revive people in seconds, even if the API has been blasted to bits. Some fans argue that this technology could explain why the world of GTA feels so reckless and dangerous. If people know they can just be brought back to life, then that isn't really a big deal. It's a bizarre theory, but when you consider how over the top and absurd GTA's universe is, maybe it's not as far-fetched as it seems. It was odd to have a protagonist in GTA 3 who couldn't speak while the rest of the people could. Rockstar did give us an explanation for that. However, that hasn't stopped fans from coming up with their own wild theories. There's one that I find particularly interesting. The theory suggests that Claude's inability to speak is a result of a bullet wound from Catalina that severed his ability to talk. The bullet might have damaged his throat or the surrounding areas, leaving him unable to speak, but still able to grunt or make noises when he was in pain. This has certainly given the story a much darker twist. This next theory ties the 3D and HD universes of GTA together, and it's a fun one. In GTA 5, during the mission Hood Safari, you can spot 3 guys biking through Grove Street, and they look strikingly similar to CJ, Big Smoke, and Ryder from San Andreas. At first, it seems like a cool callback to the classic GTA moment when the trio rides through Grove Street in the first mission, but as you get closer, you realize they're not the same characters. Fans have debated endlessly about what this means, but it seems just like a cheeky nod to GTA San Andreas, perhaps to keep the memory of the old Grove Street gang alive. I'm sure you guys remember Smoke's betrayal in GTA San Andreas. It really took some of us by surprise, but the signs were always there, even at the start of the game. Remember when CJ returned home for his mom's funeral, and Big Smoke popped out of the kitchen, almost bashing CJ with a bat? It was rather weird. I mean, what was he even doing in the kitchen when no one was home? Well, the theory suggests that Smoke was actually there to take out Sweet. He'd always been eyeing the top spot in the hood, so with Sweet gone, Smoke could have taken control. But when CJ unexpectedly shows up, Smoke's plans gets interrupted and he has to come up with a quick excuse and act like nothing was wrong. You know how when we are first introduced to Grove Street in GTA 5, we notice how the whole hood is filled with ballers, and we hardly see any GSF members. It seems the ballers took over the hood, but there are some wild theories as to how that might have happened. Some fans think that the two games exist in two separate eras, hence there was no CJ to help GSF fight back, so the ballers slowly took over. But the theory that I find more believable is that the Grove Street families just sort of faded away over time. Lamar even mentions how GSF members left gangbanging behind them to become powerful CEOs and stuff. It's a subtle but interesting hint that GSF started focusing on more legitimate paths, leaving their old criminal activities behind, and so it gave Balls an opening that they took advantage of. And this next theory even has some evidence to support that. In GTA 4, some eagle-eyed fans have spotted this billboard, which kinda shows CJ as this businessman. This suggests after the events of GTA San Andreas, CJ left a life of crime behind and became a successful businessman. I mean, it makes sense because he added properties and the money to go legit, which might also be the reason why the Grove Street family lost control, because without CJ, they never really stood a chance. Now, guys, before talking about this next theory, I'm gonna give you a little heads up as this might spoil the LA Noir story for you. But if you have played the game, you know how Cole Pelps, the protagonist, dies in the sewer after getting swept away by a massive flood. We never really saw his body, but many believe that his body is actually hidden in the abandoned mine shaft in GTA 5. When you go inside the mine, you can actually see a dead body, and all signs lead you to believe that Cole Pelps, the way he's dressed, the circumstances in which we find the body, and the fact that Rockstar loves connecting their games with one another, could this actually be Cole Pelps' body? Let me know what you guys think about that. You remember the big score mission where the three protagonists tried to pull off this massive heist together. When they enter the bank, they meet the manager who goes through each of their IDs. Michael and Franklin pass through without issue, but when it's Trevor's turn, there's a noticeable pause. While some might think it's just Rockstar building up tension for the scene, there's a theory that suggests the manager recognizes Trevor from the first prologue heist. Now I know all of them had masks back then, but the thing is, Trevor takes off his mask when he exits the car. His face is clearly captured on a security camera and later shown in the news. So when Trevor walks into the bank for the big score, the manager might actually recognize him from that incident. Trevor killing Johnny Klebitz was one of the darkest moments in GTA 5, which kinda triggered Lost MC to find and kill Trevor. So apparently they come to Trevor's trailer, but when he wasn't there, they ransacked his trailer. However, some fans believe that it might have been Ron behind the mess. He obviously had the motive, and he knew he could put the blame on the biker gang. Was Ron actually lying, or was it truly Lost MC who did it? Let me know. I'm sure you guys remember the Altruist cult, the creepy old folks in GTA 5 with a taste for human flesh. But here's a wild theory that could probably even be called fact today. Trevor might actually be one of them. It sounds insane, but hear me out. Rockstar never spells it out. There's some solid evidence. Take that scene where Trevor offers Michael a bowl of stew. Michael takes one look and immediately nopes out, pointing at something suspicious in it. Trevor, being Trevor, of course, he shrugs and says it's probably an eyebrow before eating the whole thing himself. He even throws up at the end, which definitely suggests it wasn't something normal. You can also hear him sometimes say things like, "I don't like Indian people," or something like that when loading into GTA.
Never eat Indian people.
This one's pretty wild, but think about it. Michael always talks about how he has two different personalities in his therapy sessions. He talks about how one part of him is just trying to live a normal life, while the other is a reckless, crazy guy doing insane stuff. And he's right, because we don't usually see Michael do crazy stuff like Trevor or Franklin, but when we do take over as players, we make him do some reckless stuff, which is why Michael feels like he loses control over his body. Alright, this next theory is more of a stretch, but it suggests that GTA games are actually Hollywood movies. Yeah, I know, we know Rockstar takes inspiration from movies for their games, but what if the games themselves were movies? Think about it, everything in GTA is so over the top. You're pulling off insane heists, dying doesn't mean anything because you just respawn, and the cops are ridiculously reckless. Almost like they're acting in a movie scene. The ability to spawn cars and get whatever you need makes it feel like a director's toolkit. I know it sounds crazy, but at least we're not in hell, right? Do you guys remember the Hang 10 mission where Trevor finally confronts Deborah and Floyd at their apartment? An argument starts between the three, and the next thing we know, Trevor comes out all covered in blood and everyone thinks he killed both of them. However, according to a more logical theory, it was Deborah who killed Floyd because he threatened the two with a knife, while Trevor stabbed Deborah, getting the knife from Floyd after he got shot. One dude actually used a mod to get into the room to show us the aftermath of the whole murder scene. We talked about Trevor's dad, who he might have killed, but what about his mom? She's alive, right? We see her pop up at Trevor's trailer out of nowhere, so she must be alive, unless Trevor made the whole thing up in his mind. There's a pretty good theory out there which suggests Trevor's mom didn't actually show up, but it was all Trevor's hallucination, because he feels guilty for taking her life. And it makes sense, because the second time Trevor comes back to his trailer, she's just gone, simply disappears without a trace, making Trevor lose his mind again. Speaking of Trevor's hallucinations, there is another theory that claims even Trevor's rampage moments aren't real either. These are also just as mind cooking up scenarios as to what Trevor could have done. Take that one time when Trevor started going off on the military guys mocking his Canadian accent. According to this theory, none of it really happens because there are no wanted stars popping up and no mention of these crimes in the news the next day. Something we usually see in GTA after a big blowout. So what do you guys think? GTA 6 release has put a pause to World War III. Yeah, this is definitely the craziest theory here, and it's actually a theory that I could almost understand. Who doesn't want to play GTA 6? I mean, even world leaders would want to play the game, right? Imagine Kim Jong-un. He's probably already threatened the Rockstar HQ, saying he will nuke them if they don't give him an early copy of the game. I'm sure Kim Jong-un is already there, playing through the storyline and just having a blast with his command. Anyways, let's get on to the next one. You know how cops in GTA games are always on your case for every little crime, but they never seem to care when you're speeding past them, driving through traffic like a maniac? Well, there is a theory from Tom J. Slade that explains why. According to him, you're never actually breaking the speed limit in GTA, because the in-game time is way faster than in real-world time. Every 2 seconds in real life equals 1 minute in the game, so even if you're driving the fastest car in the game at top speed, it's technically still too slow to break any speed limit. Now that's one big brain theory right there. I've always wondered why Rockstar gave us 3 endings in GTA 5, with 2 of them ending up in Michael or Trevor's death, and 1 of them where everyone survives, but never an option where Franklin dies. Don't get me wrong, I love the Death Wish ending, but here's the thing. Apparently, Franklin was originally supposed to die. According to fan theories, Lamar would have replaced him as the playable character after Franklin's death, and honestly, it makes sense. Lamar's animations and interactions are way more polished compared to other NPCs. Even Lamar's voice actor, Slink Johnson, hinted that his character was meant to play a bigger role in the story, but due to some real life issues, he couldn't finish his voice work and Rockstar had to make some last minute changes. Most of us just accept the crime-ridden world of GTA as it is, but one Reddit user has come up with a theory that actually explains why the world is so full of crime and why the government seems so powerless to stop it. According to the theory, the business plot, a real-world conspiracy from 1933 where powerful businessmen tried to overthrow the US government, which failed in real life, but it might have actually succeeded in the GTA universe. If that's the case, the GTA government would essentially be run by these wealthy elites, which explains why influential people get away with the most outrageous crimes, even murders, and it almost feels like the entire system is rigged to protect those with power, leaving the rest of the world to do whatever they want. Continuing with the wild theories, there's one more that I really like. According to this, all the NPCs in GTA games are being tracked by insurance companies. You might have often wondered how cops know when you commit a crime when there are absolutely no witnesses around. For example, when you kill an NPC in the middle of nowhere, you still get wanted star levels even when nobody actually sees you. Well, it's because the insurance companies have these microchips inside of every NPC that sends out the data to the companies about their health, which is relayed to the cops in case of a murder with the exact location of the NPC. Now, I don't want to spoil GTA 4's story for you in case you haven't played the game yet, so feel free to skip this.
Food in a hand job?
But for those who have played the game, they know how Nico dies at the end of GTA 4. Or does he? Well, apparently not. In GTA 5, there's a scene where Jimmy is browsing Life Invader and some eagle-eyed fans spotted Nico's profile. According to it, he's alive and working as a cab driver and broker. He even posts live updates suggesting he's lying low and staying out of trouble. Maybe Nico's story isn't as over as we thought. Do you think he will come back in GTA 6 somehow? Let me know. Here's another wild theory that actually ties GTA 5 to Red Dead Redemption in the coolest way possible. You know how Franklin, Michael, and Trevor each have their own unique abilities. Franklin slows time while driving, Michael does it while shooting, and Trevor gets a crazy damage boost while becoming nearly invincible. Well, according to this theory, they inherited these superpowers from none other than John Marston, who's supposedly their ancestor. Not only that, but they also inherited pieces of his personality. Franklin reflects John's ambition, Trevor channels his rage, and Michael mirrors his desire for a normal family life. It's a really cool theory that fits in quite well. GTA Vice City isn't the only game where legal fronts hide shady activities. Remember the monkey business mission in GTA 5? We raid what's supposed to be a perfume factory, but instead we find a creepy lab with caged monkeys and rats running loose. According to a fan theory, the experiments in this lab might have led to the birth of the mysterious Ratman, who first became a legend in GTA 4 and is rumored to hide in the sewers of Los Santos. Have any of you ever seen him though? I personally haven't. Now you might have already heard this theory, but it's an interesting one worth sharing. Some fans believe that GTA Online is being used by Rockstar as a testing ground for their upcoming GTA title. They're collecting players' data to find out what they like and dislike so they can create the most perfect GTA game ever. And that's why Rockstar keeps on introducing some bizarre new stuff to GTA Online just to see how the players react to it. While we might not see flying bikes and UFO missions in GTA 6, the lessons Rockstar learns here could definitely shape its overall experience. Smart move if it's actually true, but personally I believe this was always the case. Do you ever notice how every GTA city is set on an island surrounded by water? On the surface, it seems like a simple way to keep players within the playable map, but hey, some fans believe these isolated settings are actually a metaphor for how American states live in their own little bubbles, detached from the rest of the world. It's like Rockstar is trying to make a subtle statement about how these places are so self-absorbed they barely care or know about what's happening beyond their borders. Cops in GTA 5 are often accused of being corrupt, but some fans have also accused them of racial profiling. We have seen a lot of videos showing how cops in GTA 5 are more hostile towards Franklin. It's almost like any small interaction can result in him getting arrested or even shot on the spot. Meanwhile, with Michael and Trevor, the cops don't seem to react with the same level of hostility. So we all know the prologue in GTA 5 where Brad dies during the heist, right? Well, some fans believe that Brad's death wasn't supposed to happen at all. According to this theory, the bullet was actually meant for Trevor, but Brad just happened to step right in front of him at the worst possible time, taking the hit instead. If you look closely at the angle of the shot, it kind of makes sense. The bullet is clearly headed towards Trevor, and if Brad hadn't moved, it would have hit him instead. This makes me feel like I know nothing about GTA 5's story, but Dark Viper has definitely debunked this theory in one of his videos. Jimmy is one of the most annoying characters in GTA 5. He's a narcissist who never goes out of his room, always spends time on his laptop, and always has a bad attitude. Kind of sounds like me, but without the bad attitude, not gonna lie. However, you don't see any of these traits in Michael. He's the polar opposite of everything that Jimmy is. But we know someone else who fits the same description, Lester. I know it's a stretch, but both are overweight, isolated, socially awkward, and kind of grumpy in their own ways. Now this next theory is one that I totally agree with. I'm sure you've noticed how the NPCs in GTA Online have become a lot more aggressive and reckless. They seem to have a mind of their own, intentionally trying to sabotage your missions with reckless driving, insane accuracy, and they're shooting or even crashing into you from nowhere. Now some fans believe that it's because Rockstar wants to make the missions more challenging so we stay in the game for longer, but this one guy on Reddit thinks that it's Rockstar's way of making NPCs get back at us because that's exactly what we do to them. After Nico, it seems his cousin might also be alive. Well, you might have heard of this underwater bunker hidden in the depths of GTA 5's water. It's a mysterious bunker with lights on, and when you get closer, you can actually hear a slow thumping sound coming out of it. Well, someone was smart enough to realize that it was a tap code and decoded it. According to them, it's a secret message that says, "Hey, you never call. How would you fancy going bowling?" Which any GTA 4 fan would recognize as a line from Roman in that game. Is it really down there, or is it just another random nod to GTA 4? Here's another fun but absolutely absurd Michael theory, which suggests that the whole GTA 5 game never really happens and is all in Michael's head. The only two characters that truly exist are Michael and his therapist, and the whole story is just Michael's own making. This is some mind-bending Hollywood movie kind of plot twist, and according to this guy, Trevor is actually Michael's own psychosis personified, and Franklin is someone who he heard about and made up a whole backstory for. That's a wild theory, but wait till you hear what I got for you in the end. Rockstar has been pretty clear about the different GTA games set in different eras with no connection between them. Sure, we have some Easter eggs, some nods here, and a few references there, but the characters don't really jump from one era of GTA to the next, except if you're a radio host, like my guy Laszlo Jones here. In that case, you can be in any GTA universe you want, and that makes you, what, a multi-dimensional radio host? Now, we've all had our gripes with the way cops in GTA use excessive force without any good reason. A small traffic infraction gets you 1 star, which shouldn't let cops shoot you, but they do. Well, there's a pretty good theory that tells us why that happens. From the cops' perspective, you're basically a monster, someone who has been killing innocent civilians, blowing up cars, and even killing half of their colleagues.
Let the hostages go, and we'll talk like gentlemen.
Time to face the music.
Sweet mother shit.
So the next time you're on their radar, even with a single wanted level, they already know who you are, and they're just trying to take you out before you cause any more trouble. And that actually makes sense when you think about it. Okay, this one isn't really a big revelation, but you know our guy Nico climbs the ladder of the criminal underworld to become this big shot, but despite all that, he never really owned his own car. I mean, every car he has ever had was stolen. He never actually bought one for himself. That's because he's an illegal immigrant, and with all the documentation and stuff, he just wasn't able to purchase his own car. Here's one more crazy theory that might actually be true. Everyone knows Trevor is a hot-headed maniac, but this guy believes he's actually a demon in disguise. You see, Michael and Franklin both have unique abilities, but their abilities make sense. They highlight something that the characters are good at, whereas Trevor's abilities literally becoming invincible and dealing a boatload of damage to anyone who stands in his way. And when he actually dies, his whole body catches fire, which is always weird, right? But not if this theory is true. Okay, this is another one of those far-fetched theories that suggests GTA characters might actually represent different forms of currency. The theory goes that Trevor symbolizes gold, Michael represents silver, and Franklin is all about the greenback cash, and is supposedly reflected in the colored tint that takes over the screen when they use their special abilities. Franklin's is green, Trevor's is gold, and Michael has that silver blue tint. Do you remember the ghost cars in San Andreas that spawn out of nowhere, mostly in the wilderness, driving by themselves with no driver in sight? Fans had all kinds of spooky theories about them. Some thought they were a nod to Christine, the demonic car from Stephen King's classic. Others figured Rockstar wanted to freak out adventurous teens wandering around back or beyond after dark, but as creepy as they were, the real explanation turned out to be hilariously mundane. Apparently, Rockstar's devs messed up the spawn points for these rusty vehicles, placing them on hills, so when they spawn, they just roll downhill all by themselves, although we love a good conspiracy. I'm sure you guys have heard about this theory, which suggests GTA 6 might actually be the final game in the series. Why? Well, critics and fans argue that the technological leaps between older GTA games and their successors have been massive. Just think about the jump from San Andreas to GTA 4 or GTA 4 to GTA 5. But between GTA 5 and GTA 6, the gap is noticeably smaller. Sure, we're getting an upgraded setting, smarter AI, and better graphics, but what happens when those innovations no longer feel groundbreaking? The theory suggests Rockstar might close the GTA chapter after 6 and shift their focus to introduce a brand new IP or pour their energy into Red Dead Redemption 3. Let me know what you guys think about that. Is GTA 6 really going to be the last GTA entry? Anyway, that wraps up this list of GTA theories. I know some of these were absolutely wild and downright absurd, but hey, that's part of the fun, right? At the same time, a few of these actually make you stop and think, wait, could that be true? So what do you think? Which one was the most believable? Alright, thanks for watching guys. That's all for today. I will see you in the next video.